Come have some fun and watch some games. Time to get crazy. It's night and day. Yeah. Night and day, back again. Back in the world of the Talos Principle. Okay, we've had enough Tetris for a tiny bit, and we're back in World 4 of World C. Or Zone 4? Whatever you want to call it. Hello, you look bored. You look awfully bored. Are there many bored gargoyles? They also look kind of simian. Its face looks like a pug dog. Or a thoughtful monkey. Let's see if we're going to be a thoughtful monkey. Stables. Ooh, just the connector projector and just red. That could be grim. Oh, then again, we see pathways and doorways and more and more and more. Okay. Hello? A jammer? Oh, I must have been incorrect. Oh no, we still need the connector projector. It just doesn't show jammer. It never shows jammer. Because jammer is something that you've always had. So they never show it as one of the puzzle requirements tools. Alright, so we can open this and we're immediately jammed again. Hello, red glowing destiny. Yon Tetris of destiny. Okay, that was easy. We found this already. There's a receiver. So we know the transmitter's over here. But we don't know where we can bend it to. Let's see. Oh, well, we can bend it here. We can use it just straight here to get this first door open. And then take the jammer to go farther. Guess we'll do that? 'Cause I can't see where else we can potentially send it at the moment. So now it's just a matter. Can we send it there? We connect it and connect it. I think we can just reach that. So maybe that's the goal? Guess we'll see. But if that's the case, right, then we would have to jam this door. Can we reach that with the original transmitter? Yeah, we can. So this is equivalent right now. One would be the jammer, the other one would be the connector. Hey, Tetris beckoning. I gotta say, I'm sick of Tetris. I must indeed say that. That's what I'm saying. Okay. Here they're showing a connector projector, which we could theoretically get this way. I want to check the other way first, though. Hello. Oh, it's such a nice little baby. It's such a nice baby. Yeah, look at that. He's beeping and booping, baby. Now, this is the same thing I was jamaling? No, it isn't. That's a different one. Where is that one that I just reached? It's not this one either. Okay. So let's use bring the jammer back here, temp or air orly, and jam this monkey down. Hello. Let's still do that though. I don't think it's going to aptly, but we can try it. Happily. No, he can't reach all three. But we don't need this right now. Oh, we do. We indeedly doodly. So maybe we have to take the other connector this direction. But I am kind of curious what we're unlocking over here. Where is that? In the great scheme of things, what we getting, babies? I don't know. Do you guys know? People who've already beat this game probably know. Maybe not though. Do you need to get all the red puzzle pieces to beat this game? Probably, because we got all the green and yellow, and we can't access Elohim's heaven chamber, or whatever it is. Alright, we'll just bring the connector projector this way for now. Maybe we have to go the other way, but for now we don't necessarily. Alright, so you're going there. We're going to take him one step farther. Go there. Oh, there you are. Okay. And that's the other one. And we can't currently jam it, right? Oh, hello. Hello, tree in a room. What's over there? Nothing, that's just the other side of this thing that we've seen before, okay. And then behind here should be El Puzel piece, yes. El Puzel. So I think it's a matter of going the other direction again, like we had it before. But, oh no it's not. It's like we already, oh yes it is. Ha 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 ha. Because you don't have another projector to make it viable. So let's go the other direction and see what we can get. But we have to go both directions actually, because this is the only ground path in. So even if I open this via the other path, this is the walkway. There's a singular walkway. My robot friend does not know how to just slightly angle his body and crawl through these very large openings. These openings should be so much smaller. It should be just like, you know, rail thin. Because all we're trying to do is get a light through it. Maybe not, like it shouldn't be just like the super thin line across, but it should be, you know, obviously it should just be bigger, much more narrow so that you couldn't easily climb into it as an opening. You know, encourage that sense of realism. I'm a fan of making the universe that you're in more believable. But we've already seen instances where this universe isn't believable. It has to be a simulation, and I mean the physics to the puzzles don't apply. They just have to be logic puzzles that the robot AI friends are solving. Because you can't apply reality. If you put a jammer on an air launcher, it will flop over the slightest tiny bit. If you put it on a box on the air launcher, it will fly in a perfect arc on top of the box. Yes. But anyway, as long as you understand it's a logic test that these guys have to pass, then there you go. Now, how do we keep that light open? So we're getting a 2-for-1 here. Where else can we get a 2-for-1? We can't go the other way. If I place it here, can it still work? I can then go through there. And can I place another one, the other one over there in such a way that it hits all the other lights that are needed except for one, because we need the jammer. So we bring it back here. We hit one, and we hit over there. We bring the second one here to hit that, and that's it, huh? There's no other way to get 2 from here. Through the second window of love. We can only hit this one through there. Oh, can I double hit something over there? No. Well, this is a fine mess you got us into, Donkey Bonky. Whoa, this definitely looks like a wall that would open up. Looks like a secret doorman lives in there. Hey, let me in, secret doorman. I would like to know the secret. Oh, maybe that's what all these look like? Oh, who are you? Are you the secret doorman? You look kind of like Frankenstein. Or Guile. That buzz cut. The exaggerated super tall buzz cut. Man. Doorman. Dormammu. I've come to buzz cut. Okay. So we can hit that. But if we can't hit anything else, it's kind of irrelevant. We can reach that and that. Am I just not realizing something simple where the jammer can be... Can I have one here that hits that and the other one at the same time? Am I missing a simple extra jammer? No, because then the puzzle's too easy if there's one more projector. Then it wouldn't be red. It's just like connect A to B to C, right? I love that part of the music. Do we have to beam light in here from another source? That's usually only for stars, not for a standard puzzle. All the standard puzzles are self-contained, right? So we want to connect that, and then see where I put you. Those two and that guy. Okay. Now I think we're on to something. Now we can use you here. And you are hitting this, but not the next guy, right? How the monkey's uncle do I hit that? I'm always one short. Can we hit? I don't think so. So this guy is currently a 2-for-1. We need the other guy to also be a 2-for-1. Can the other guy also hit that? From where he is. I think that's what we have to do. And the jammer is where it should be, pretty sure. Yeah, come on. It's right there. Can I jam the thing from the other side? No, not unless I do the damn trick. That ain't it. It's just making this guy be a 2-for-1. Where is your magical position where you can hit 2? If we use you to open this, I can get the jammer to the other side. I think that's all we have to do. So first, leave it alone that direction. Take it this direction. Then, take the jammer to this side. Then that's open. Then we have the jammer where we need it to be. And I can do what I did before. And we don't need him to actually be a 2-for-1. because we've got our extra special door opening surprise friend. Boom! Oops. There we go. Bing bong. Alright. And just to make sure... Whoops. Just to make sure, right? We do want to real quick, like, use that to open that. Okay. Just to be sure that we triggered every possible flippin' and floopin'. Because I want to be sure that there aren't any flippin' and floopin' guys. Oh, Beeps and Boops is back, huh? This time it has to be the whole ass. The whole donkey is here. So I guess we'll talk to him. It could be the final time, since he's all butthurt about how things have been going. Yeah, we wanted to trigger every single receiver, just in case one of them hit a secret door. Alright, let's see what you got. I've decided, on reflection, to ignore the fact that your picture of how the world should work has more holes than Swiss cheese. In fact, just in case you do, by some outside chance, prove to be right, I'd like to sign up for the gang. If you're in charge of the Ark, who will be the first aboard when the floods come? What does one have to do to be valued above all others? Be a person, be a good person, be alive. I don't see how to explain this to you. Be a contributing person, be conscious, be. How is be and be alive different? I guess if you're using the scientific definition of life, then it, from what I understand, in biology is required, and life forms have to be able to grow and have cells. So maybe that's what they mean. But be, in that case, be conscious or be sentient and be would be synonyms. So either way, the just be is redundant. But in any way, be a good person is what's required. Have honored, not just contributing. How draconian. Good people get treated good, bad people get smited. Is that it? What is it that makes the difference between a good person and a bad one, do you think? Good people act reasonably. No, it's more than that. Bad people have something wrong deep inside. Bad people harm others. It's trying to break these down very simplistically. So good people act honorably, not necessarily reasonably. Anyone can act reasonably. Putting others above yourself, whereas bad people put themselves above others. They don't necessarily harm others. They might. They don't have to. But if they always put their self and their own motivations above others, then that's what makes them bad. Not in all cases would I say that that's what makes somebody bad. If the bad person, quote, bad person in question, if there's a pediatric surgeon who's putting herself above a room full of rapists, to me that's fine. But in general, if everything's a neutral playing field and you don't know what the people are, or all the people are basically equivalent, then if the bad person will step over the other people to always try and do more for himself, always trying to get more for just himself at the expense of other people, giving himself advantages time after time after time after time, that sort of thing, is a bad person. It's like altruistic versus selfish. It's pretty much it. So, I mean, there are some people who say that that there's no such thing as good and bad and it's all perspective. From a certain person's perspective, that person is good. From another person's perspective, that person is also good. But is that true? Not to me, not even close. Like, if there's somebody who's harming other people to get that person to gain advantages for that person, that's f***ing bad. It's that simple. If obviously the people who say shit like that are the bad people, or they're people who are trying to justify their actions. Like they know, oh yeah, in that case, I did all these things, but anybody else would do that too. I did all these things so it would work out better for me, but anybody would have done that. No, no. You did that in a way that worked out better for you, and these other people got screwed over. Not anybody would do that. There are people who would only operate in a fair scenario. They wouldn't take unfair advantages, even if the opportunity presented itself, just to elevate themselves. So do I believe everything is always simple and straightforward? No. Like, if somebody steals, is it always bad? No. If somebody steals, like the Robin Hood scenario, rob from rich, corrupt people in order to get money for poor people who are destitute and trying to live their lives and incapable of doing so because of the unrealistic situation with the incredibly ridiculous taxes that have been levied, that sort of thing, it's fine. Or if somebody, steals some bread to feed a starving kid, it's fine. Like, there are cases where theft is justified, but there are cases where it's not. If somebody's just stealing something from someone down the street and just breaks into their house, shoots them dead, robs them blind, that's not fine. If you're, again, there can be circumstances. If somebody breaks into the house of a crazy pedophile, it's some like evil child molester, some child rapist, and shoots them dead and steals their stuff, I'm fine with that. But if it's all neutral, if you don't have any of these like extraneous, unusual circumstances, then, like, if you're not dealing with monsters, then stealing from a neutral average person is not good. So the people who are out there saying, oh, there's no such thing as good as bad, it's only perspective, that's total bullshit. You're just trying to create a rationalization or a justification for your own selfish behavior in the past. Well, anybody would have done it. No. No, I'm sorry, that's not how it is. I know, a handful of people who are extremely moral and have done some selfless things in some hard circumstances, and I know some people who are less than moral, who have done some selfish things in some, simple circumstances where it's not even necessary. You couldn't even argue that it was necessary, and then you look back in hindsight 10 years later, was it necessary? No. Anyway, I guess the closest thing here is bad people harm others. I think it's more complex than that, but obviously the answers that our friend gives here are not always what we're looking to say. Like, good people act reasonably it's way too simplistic. Bad people can act reasonably. Lots of people can act reasonably under certain circumstances. Good people act selflessly, altruistically, and honorably. Bad people have something wrong deep inside. That's also not necessarily true. Like, selfishness is very common. But bad people harm others. But why? If you're going to reward those lucky few you judge to be good and exclude those you deem to be bad, you're going to have to explain to the unfortunate why they deserve less. Good. That's fine. Bad people are that way by nature. Bad people are made that way by their environment. Bad people choose to be bad. Now those are three very interesting concepts. The whole nature versus nurture, heredity versus environment argument has gone on for decades. And I've studied that. And unfortunately, there's a lot. I know a lot of people say that environment is makes a huge deal, and like, oh, if he just had a better childhood, he would have been so fine. Unfortunately, like, a lot of the honest research on that shows that nature is a hell of a lot more of an influence than nurture. It's heredity and genetics make up a hell of a lot more of a difference in somebody's attitude than their upbringing. I studied psychology for a while before I got into engineering, and like, one of the reasons I got out of it was because a lot of the research is biased towards grants and funding and who will pay for your research and so that you can have a job. And so how you can get your studies is you need funding. And a lot of the funding aims to prove their point. So they don't want honest research. They want research that shows what they want to show and says what they believe and says what they want to say, even if most of the research doesn't support that. They're paying you, and they're paying the research team or whatnot for an answer that they want, as opposed to honest science. So you see this like all the time in politics and in certain controversial issues, like when they had the whole like lawsuits against big tobacco and things like that. Oh, is smoking harmful? And then that continued into, is secondhand smoking harmful? And they have all of these super expert scientists on both sides of the argument. You know, the expert scientists saying, oh no, secondhand smoking is not harmful at all. It does not cause cancer. Secondhand smoking is totally fine. And they had scientists, you know, they were paid and they were spouting this bullshit because they were paid very well for it, and they weren't very moral people. When it has been proven now over time that, yeah, secondhand smoking can be harmful. But yeah, this in court, these people were swearing up and down. When you have experts on two opposing sides of a scientific argument, then you have corruption in the system. Like, science is science. You don't have opposing sides. 2 + 2 is 4. 1 + 1 is 2. Sometimes you get people, even in engineering, you get people who are like, no, 1 + 1 isn't always 2. Sometimes you have to fudge the numbers. I've actually had this conversation with somebody before. In an actual paid engineer in an actual engineering firm, where that was her argument. I was like, uh-oh, I'm working with the wrong people. So, yeah, even though there was, the majority of honest science showed that heredity and nature had a much higher influence than environment. It wasn't that environment had zero influence, it was that it was a super much lower percentage. Like, I had seen some studies, some research that showed it was incredibly low, like 2% to 8% contributing to a person's actual decision-making process, that sort of thing, that low. But the argument goes on forever because there was a lot more funding to try and show that nurture was the more relevant point, or at least it was a huge percentage, like 50-50. It was something like more equivalent, so that, you know, you can always just help somebody enough and you help them the right way and then they'll be a good person. Unfortunately, the honest research on that didn't show that. But there was so much more research that did show that because that's where all the money was. So that's one of those scenarios where it's totally fucked up. If people are more interested in an agenda than in the truth, society as a whole suffers. Even if the truth is not what you want to hear, it's the fucking truth. So take it and move forward with it. And let's change our opinions, guys. It doesn't have to be, even if it's unfortunate, it is what it is. Don't go with this weird 1984 Big Brother doublethink concept where, oh no, this is fine, this is the way it could be, or this is the way it don't, like, put on blinders because the answer is not what you want to hear. Even in this game, she was talking about that. Andrea? I don't remember. The main character's name, who was the main lead head researcher, she was talking about that. You need to be able to accept truths that are hard to swallow, or that are not what you want to hear, or that are really unfortunate or sad or depressing even. Just, you need to be able to accept hard truths as truths if there's going to be any hope for society as a whole. You can't just turn a blind eye to shit. There's no progress gets made that way. Alright, anyway, so, by nature, some people are that way by nature. Some, I think so. Bad people are made that way by their environment. Some, I think so. Environment is a contributing factor, nature is a contributing factor. But I think the bottom choice here is clearly the right choice. Bad people choose to be bad. Intent defines a choice as good or bad? What is the person trying to accomplish? Is the person trying to harm others? Is the person intentionally doing something that he or she thinks will harm others, and not for some sort of greater good, but just to benefit him or herself? Like, not one of those things where they're killing Hitler because it will save millions of people. Then that can be argued to be justified because they're trying to do it to help. If their intent is to help, then there you go, a good person. If their intent is to get rich and only help himself, then they're a bad person. So, but it's a choice. Whether your genetics tell you to do it or influence you to do it, or people around you in your environment, they tell you to do it, it's still ultimately up to you. It is your choice. And making that choice is what defines the bad action. So that's definitely it. Do they really? I suppose that's why prisons are chock-a-block with wealthy playboys, because it's a lifestyle choice. Chock-a-block, huh? Did you choose to be a good person? Could you have done if you were created somewhere else? It seems to me that people are the way they are because of the opportunities they were provided. Should disadvantaged people really be punished for that? I totally disagree with you. It is not because of the opportunities they were provided. You're right. What someone deserves isn't dependent on their virtue. It may be luck, but bad is bad. So neither of these are correct. Both of these answers agree with this person's premise. It seems to me that people are the way they are because of the opportunities they were provided. I totally disagree. There are people who have been raised in shit scenarios with shit opportunities who make the right decisions. They do the hard choice, they do the right thing, even though they personally may be screwed, and even though everyone around them is telling them not to do it. So I completely disagree with your premise. What someone deserves isn't dependent on their virtue. No, I totally disagree. What someone deserves is dependent upon their virtue. I don't think that this is a correct answer either. Is the sort of thing people say before a spot of ethnic cleansing. Well, my chances are looking poorer by the minute, aren't they? What do you reckon? Have I got the slightest hope of boarding the Ark? You're beyond saving, you're alright, perhaps one day. I don't know enough about you, dude. All I know is you, try to provoke conversation and you're argumentative. I don't know if you're alright, and we definitely don't know if you're beyond saving. So we'll just go maybe. Good to know. The day you round up the bad people and put them in work camps, I'll have some chance of slipping that through the net. You know, there's something about all this that just doesn't add up for me. Best hope you work out what it is before I do. No, you don't understand right from wrong? That's fine. I don't think there was a good option for me to answer that particular thing where suddenly we have to agree with that guy's premise. It's bad luck, but bad is bad. No. There can be people who are in situations with bad luck, and that's true for anything, good people or bad people. There could be a child in a war environment who's just fucked. There could be people in whatever crazy gang warfare part of some slum that's just surrounded by shit and trapped by this lifestyle or whatnot. And there are some of those people who will rise up and make the hard decision and do the right thing and still help others. And then there can be people who are in the wealthiest society ever where they want for nothing, they have everything, never a concern in the world, and all they do is just more, greed, push others out of the way, step on whoever it takes to elevate themselves, more money, get more things, more possessions, more everything, because it's just all about him. And in that case, you can have somebody who is totally crap in who has all the opportunities and somebody who's doing the right things who has no opportunity. So I don't believe at all anything of that premise where, oh, it just depends on the opportunities that you get. That is just not at all right. But unfortunately, there were only two answers there. One is, you're totally right. And the other one is, I don't know. I guess you're right, but bad is still bad and bad luck, and some people have bad luck, and then they're bad. It's just like, I mean, bad is bad regardless of opportunities, not because of opportunities, would have been my response to that. But in any case, our robot friend usually doesn't have the most variety of answers there. It seems to keep trying to push you towards saying like you agree with the guy in the machine or the terminal entity or whatever you want to call it, which I just don't. I agree with some of his concepts or her concepts, but definitely not all of them. And if you are going to create a new society, then I think it would benefit people to have some sort of reward or merit system based on behavior. That makes sense. We have that in this society. Bad people get punished and thrown in jail. We don't necessarily have enough of a reward system for good people, depending on where you live. I mean, like, capitalism is just rewarded with money for efficient people or industrious people, or sometimes just totally corrupt, greedy people, like we were just talking about. There isn't necessarily a reward for virtue, but I think society would probably work better that way. You could say virtue is its own reward, or doing it for a reward makes it less virtuous. But still, if that's the case, like, an honor-based system I think still applies regardless of the thing in the machine. Like, the entity in the terminal seems to just be saying the only thing that's relevant is being sentient, and I disagree with that. If you have a society full of Hitlers and child rapists and, you know, just racists and bottom of the dregs of humanity and all that stuff, is that worth anything? I don't know. Not really. Is it some people say all life is equivalent value, and it's like, have you never heard of a rapist before? No, it doesn't have equivalent value. Good people are more valuable than rapists. And if you don't agree with that, then yeah, in that case I just don't agree with you. If you believe all life is equivalent, yeah, I don't. And if that's what they're trying to say, and that's the only way that they're going to allow an AI to pass this Turing test and to be granted actual construction in the real world or actual transference to the real world, then my robot friend is not going to pass that test, because my robot friend is controlled by me and therefore will give answers that believe in good and bad and honor as much as we are able to within the limited dialogue options that we have. But anyway, because this random philosophical tangent has gone on for so long, that is going to do it for this episode of the Talos Principle. I do like these really thought-provoking kind of questions upon what merits the continuation of life and society and civilization and all that, but I don't like that you can't, that the guy in the machine is like hard-pressed forcing you to, and the dialogue options are also kind of limited and forcing you to agree. Like, so many paths are like, oh, you're right. I would like it if there's more variety there. Maybe there is, and like the path that I've taken just is more limited, because there were other paths to go on before, as opposed to just right and wrong. There was like sentient and non-sentient, and anyway. But in any case, I would like it if there was more variety to the responses, because our guy doesn't seem to be able to articulate things very well in terms of they give you a path of you can believe in right and wrong, you can believe in honor, and he just doesn't seem capable of describing that. Like the same thing with the tin cans thing. Like, sophistication had nothing to do with it. Like, you either agreed or didn't. Like, maybe you can make a giant computer network with just string and tin cans, but I don't think that you can. Like, I think the material has to be more sophisticated. I mean, if it doesn't, then I agree with that person's point. But in any case, the responses there were similarly limited, so you couldn't say something that agreed with part of what the terminal presence is saying, but not all of what the terminal presence is saying, because part of what it's saying is good. It's like he's presenting some, not necessarily half-truths, but some arguments that are sound and some arguments that are not sound. Anyway, I really like these philosophical tangents that it takes us down. I hope we see more before the end of the game, but this thing, it seems like every other conversation now is like totally writing us off, so we might not. I have the feeling we'll see a little bit more, and if we're doomed to stay in the system because we believe in honor, then oh well, in the system we will stay. That's going to do it for this episode of the Talos Principle. We will see you guys next time, unless you are super selfish, greedy people who always put yourselves ahead of other people all throughout your life, and you think that that's the right way to live. And then you have subsequently unsubscribed. But yeah, we hope that we will see you guys next time, because we hope that you are all, that all the viewers here of Night and Day are not, you know, just completely selfishly motivated people. Oh my god. Oh my god. So we'll see you guys next time for more Talos Principle. Yeah, wiggle the hips. Whoa, it's a freaking flamenco dancer. Bus waiter. One of those. All of those. All the above.